Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Parker. My son Will, the Hitman, was able to drop us a jerky butt earlier this week, a nice little 6-point, and he got it field dressed and we got it quartered up and butchered up the other day. We've got 2 deer at the processor already, so we're just going to use this guy for jerky. So we're going to do a quick video on jerky. I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but to show you a few tips on how to make homemade deer jerky. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing to making jerky is getting your meat cut up. So a lot of people like to grind their meat and then extrude it using the jerky gun, which I've got all that, but I don't have a meat grinder. But what I usually like to make is called cowboy jerky, and it's where you just take your meat and you try to cut it as evenly as you can. It's kind of a rough cut jerky. Then you marinate it, dehydrate it. And so the first part, I'm just going to take a regular piece of meat like this, and I'm going to try to cut it using my Bubba blade that I got for Father's Day a couple years ago. I'm going to try to cut the pieces into roughly 3/8 thick pieces. And I'm just eyeballing this. I mean, there's no measurement, no gauge, but that's about how thick I want my jerky to be right there, if you can see that. It's about half the width of your finger. So we'll just throw that in there. Some pieces are going to be a little thicker than the others. And that really doesn't matter. That's gonna just kind of make the jerky what it's like. Cowboy jerky is what we call it. Cowboys wouldn't have everything uniform. So some pieces are going to be thicker and take a little longer to dry than others, but it's all going to come out pretty good. When I get a piece like this that's really thick, sometimes I just split it down the middle and leave it thick like that, and it'll dry just fine. So anyway, the next step after I get all this cut up is going to be the marinade. So we'll come back to that here in just a minute. Okay, so now I've got all my meat cut up. Like I said, it's rough cut. We're going to call this cowboy jerky. I think it's what a lot of people call it, or just kind of rough cut. The pieces are as even or as uniform as I can do without a meat slicer. And this meat is thawed completely. It's been in the refrigerator ever since we harvested the deer Wednesday, so it's never been frozen. The meat's fresh. Tuesday. It's been in the refrigerator 2 days, just kind of letting it cure out a little bit. A lot of people want to hang meat, but since we're making jerky, we're just going to go with refrigerated meat. The next stage we're going to do is put our marinade on, and what I like to use is a marinade called Dale Steak Seasoning. It comes in this little bottle right here. Of course, this is a generic, so it's this is best choice. You get it at Food Giant. Kroger has one, comes in the exact same bottle. It's called steak seasoning or steak marinade. And I'll just take a whole bottle of this. You can see this is probably about 10 pounds of deer meat right here. I'm just going to take one of these bottles here and pour liberally. Pour the whole thing on there. With clean hands, take it, and I just stir the meat up, make sure all of the meat gets coated with this marinade. See if I can get my cameraman to come in a little bit closer. You can see there's a little bit of marinade pooling in the bottom. All this delicious looking fresh venison right here. Okay, so the marinade's going to turn it a little bit darker. And once I'm sure that I've got all the meat covered with some marinade, I'm going to put this lid on it. I'm going to let this sit in the refrigerator for probably 6 to 12 hours, depending on how strong you like your marinade. I like mine pretty strong. I'm going to let this marinade overnight, and I'll probably put some jerky on tomorrow morning before I go to work, or maybe shortly after I get home from work. So we'll let this marinade 6 to 12 hours, and we may go in there and kind of stir it up after a couple hours, because the meat's going to soak that marinade in, and it's just going to be beautiful. Anyway, so the next step will be putting the meat on the dehydrator and getting ready to dry it out. Come back. Okay, everybody, it's a special surprise. I've got Will Hitman Parker here, and Will is enjoying the last couple bites of tenderloin from the deer that he dropped the other day. How's the tenderloin, Will?
It's delicious, completely tender. That was a good little buck. I'm glad I shot him.
Yeah. How do you think he felt about giving up his life for you so that you could eat him?
You know, if he knew that he was that delicious, I think he would be a little more willing to die, but we put him to good use. Not a bit of meat goes in vain. So.
Well, great work, Will, and dropping that nice little buck and providing jerky meat for your family and friends. And Will's leaving to go to the Marine Corps in about 2 weeks, so he's trying to eat all the deer meat he can and get in really good shape before he goes.
Yep.
And
Drinking soda pop, getting in shape, baby.
Pineapple Crush, knee highs, and deer meat. That ought to get you where you need to be. Thanks, Will.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Okay, so it's the next day, and I let the venison marinate for roughly 16 hours. That's a little long. I usually like to go anywhere between 8 to 12 hours in the marinade. But if you like a jerky with a lot of punch to it, the longer you let it marinate, the more punch it's going to have. This is what the meat looks like after it's marinated for about 16 to 18 hours. You can see it's got a nice dark color to it. Anyway, I've gone ahead and loaded the dehydrator up with meat. You can see I get it pretty close together. There's not much space between the pieces of meat on the dehydrator trays. And once I load the trays up, I take a mixture of brown sugar and black pepper. I load it into a large spice shaker that has really big holes in it where the brown sugar will come out. And I simply take it and I top dress all of the meat with a coating of brown sugar and black pepper. Then I come back for just a little bit more heat. I dress it a little bit more with a little more black pepper just to shake all the way around. I run the dehydrator up as high as it'll go, temperature-wise. This Nesco Garden Master, it will go up to 160 degrees. So I run it up to 160 degrees. I'll let it dehydrate for about 3 hours. I'll flip the jerky pieces over. I'll season the other side with the brown sugar, black pepper mix, and then I'll let it dehydrate 3 more hours. Somewhere between the 6 and 8 hour mark, I'll start checking it to see what the moisture content is, to see if the jerky's done. Some of the thinner pieces need to come on off. And this cowboy jerky, since it's not uniformly cut, not all the pieces will get dehydrated to the right moisture level at the same time, so you just really have to pay attention to what you're doing. Anyway, that's it. We'll come back when the first batch is ready, and we'll do a little taste test. Okay, so it's been about 6.5 hours on the jerky dehydration, and I've already taken some of the thinner cuts off because I don't want them to get dried out and become crunchy. So if you'll come over here, cameraman, I'll show you what we're looking like. Now, some of this is ready to come off. Like this thin piece here is probably ready to come off, but you still have thicker pieces, maybe like this, that need another hour or so. So they're going to come off probably at the 8 hour mark versus the 6.5 to 7 hour mark. So what I look for in a piece of jerky is I look for it to be pliable, but I don't want the meat to be blood red on the inside like it's raw. So of course, a few pieces I'm going to give it a taste test. That's good stuff. If the meat is wet at all on the inside, you want to continue to dehydrate it. So with the first few pieces I took off, I went ahead and sealed them up in this food saver machine that my sister let me borrow. This is a great way to preserve it and make it last a really long time. It'd also be good to give it away as gifts like this. So that's a wrap for the video. Some of the main tips I want you to remember are: don't cut your jerky too thin. It will get crunchy and hard. the Dale seasoning, let it marinate for 12 to 15 hours or overnight, however strong you want it. The longer you let it marinate, the stronger your jerky's going to be. And the last tip is to top dress your jerky with brown sugar and black pepper to however you desire the heat level to be. You can adjust it with the black pepper. I hope you liked this video. If you're a subscriber to my channel, you're probably going to get some of this deer jerky for Christmas. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there and leave me a comment. Maybe I'll send you some of this jerky. It's really good. Go ahead and hit that notification button down there too, and you'll know every time I post a new video. Also, really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up if you like this video, if you found it helpful. Go ahead and try making yourself some jerky. Work on it. It took me about 10 years to figure out a great way to do it. I hope this recipe helps you. Until next time, this is Bill Parker.